Slide the manual latch to the unlocked position. Slide and hold the spring-loaded latch. Slide the battery pack out of the bay. Push the dummy card in to unlatch it. Slide the dummy card out of the slot. Loosen the 6 captive screws. Unsnap the access panel and remove it. Loosen the captive screw. Unsnap the cover and remove it. Remove the 2 retaining screws. Pull the tab to disconnect and remove the hard disk drive from the slot. Remove the 2 screws from the hard disk drive bracket. Remove the bracket from the hard disk drive. Remove the single retaining screw. Insert a screwdriver into the screw hole and push the optical disk drive out. Press the latches on either side of the DIMM to release it. Unplug the DIMM and remove it. Repeat for the second DIMM if applicable. Disconnect the 2 wireless LAN cables. Remove the single retaining screw. Unplug the wireless LAN mini card and remove it. Disconnect the TV card cable. Remove the single retaining screw. Unplug the TV card and remove it. Remove the single retaining screw. Turn the system over. Carefully lift the keyboard and disconnect the keyboard cable from the system board. Remove the keyboard. Remove the 8 retaining screws. Turn the system over. Disconnect the power button cable from the system board. Disconnect the status LED cable from the system board. Carefully lift the keyboard cover from the system. Turn the keyboard cover over. Remove the 2 retaining screws. Carefully lift and peel the power board from the conductive tape. Remove the 12 retaining screws from the bottom of the chassis. Turn the system over. Remove the 2 retaining screws. Detach the touchpad cable. Detach the touch inductive panel cable. Detach the LVDS cable. Carefully unsnap the keyboard bezel and remove it. Disconnect the USB board cable from the system board. Remove the single retaining screw. Carefully lift the USB board from the chassis. Disconnect the Bluetooth cable from the system board. Carefully lift the Bluetooth module from the chassis. Disconnect the DC in cable from the system board. Disconnect the speaker cable from the system board. Turn the system over. Remove the 3 retaining screws. Loosen the LCD unit hinge screw. Carefully lift the system board out of the chassis. Release the antenna cable from the guides. Turn the system over. Remove the 3 hinge screws. Carefully lift the LCD unit from the chassis. Disconnect the fan cable from the system board. Remove the 7 retaining screws in the order indicated on the heatsink. Lift the heatsink from the system board. Rotate the screw counterclockwise to release the lock. Carefully lift the CPU straight up out of the socket. Remove the 4 retaining screws. Carefully lift the speakers from the chassis. Release the speaker cables from the guides. Carefully lift the TV cable from the chassis. Release the DC in cable from the guides. Carefully lift the DC in connector from the chassis. Remove the 2 screw caps. Remove the 2 retaining screws. Carefully lift the inside edge of the bezel to disconnect it from the LCD unit. Remove the 4 retaining screws. Lift the LCD panel out of the LCD cover. Turn the LCD panel over. Disconnect the LVDS cable. Remove the LCD panel from the LCD cover. Remove the 2 retaining screws. Remove the hinge from the LCD panel. Repeat the process for the other hinge. Disconnect the LVDS cable. Carefully lift the integrated camera from the LCD cover. Carefully peel the LVDS cable from the LCD cover.